Welcome back. All right, so how about a second news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet? Still, September the 29th, we got some waiver wire news on the board. We got some injury news as well, so let's jump in at the top of the board with Samberg. Samberg is going to be out for the Winnipeg Jets for the next 6 to 8 weeks. He's dealing with a broken wrist. This will test their depth on the blue line. The one thing with the Jets organization, they honestly have been a team to admire how much depth they've had. So I don't expect this to be a different situation for them. Samberg is a very important defenseman to the Winnipeg Jets. But that being said, I think they'll be okay for that 6 to 8 weeks. They have shown that ability to absorb injuries over the last couple of years and come through it all right. Waiver news from them. They've waived Phil DiGiuseppe. They've also waived Mason Shaw. Now, I've already seen in the Vancouver market, there are Canuck fans that are like, let's bring him back. Bring back Phil. You can send him down to Abbotsford. Or even playing with the Vancouver Canucks. Now, if you believe that he'd work on the Vancouver Canucks, that's one thing. But they can't send him to Abbotsford without placing him on waivers. And in that event, if the only team that put in a waiver claim were the Winnipeg Jets, they would get DiGiuseppe back, and then they could just send him straight down to the American Hockey League without having to waive him again. So it gets a little bit dodgy in terms of waiver claims at this time of year. That is one of the reasons why we haven't seen a waiver claim as of yet. You can't just send a player to the minors. You got to put him right back on waivers again. Bowen Byram is day-to-day for the Buffalo Sabres. So it doesn't sound like it's serious. He may very well be good to go by the time their first regular season game rolls around. It does not sound like Samuelson's going to be good to go for the start of the season. He's dealing with an upper body injury. He is seen as week to week. My rule with week-to-week injuries, 2 weeks. Minimum of 2 weeks. Anytime I see that's just the case where it's a minimum of 2 weeks, which would mean that at this point we're 8 days out from the start of the regular season, so he might miss a couple of games. Shouldn't miss that many, but I know there are some opinions on Samuelson within the Buffalo fandom, and I'll just leave that where that is for now. Waiver news from Carolina. Skylar Brindamore is on waivers, not Rod. They didn't waive their coach. And Seeley is waived as well by Carolina. They should both clear. They should both be fine with getting sent down. Minnesota waiving Obey Kubel, Gleason, Ben Jones, Kierstead, also on waivers for the Minnesota Wild. No real surprises there necessarily. Nashville waived Gravel, Lucchini, the other Matt Murray, because there are 2 goaltenders named Matt Murray. This is the other one. Mutter and Osterley also on waivers. Osterley, maybe somebody takes a flyer on Osterley. Maybe somebody picks him up who needs a little depth on the blue line. That might be the one I look at today and say maybe they get claimed, but probably not. The Rangers have waived Bleed. They also waived Dowling, Fix Wolanski, and Pouliot. So some names there that people would recognize from previous stints in the National Hockey League, but they should all be able to clear. The more distressing Ranger news is that JT Miller, dealing with a lower body injury, that took place during practice. He's being evaluated, so we do not know at this time how much Miller's going to miss. I would think it's probably not that major, but you never know. Injuries at this time of year can kind of come out of nowhere. They can be serious. Just ask Sasha Barkov about that. Andre Schuster has been released from his professional tryout by the New York Rangers. So this is that time of the fall where we start to see the professional tryouts just being released. I have a theory, too, that they're general managers who bring guys in on PTOs because they've played over 100 games in the NHL, so they qualify as NHL veterans for preseason games. They're basically a shield from having to put a player on the ice who you'd rather not have to play in that game. That's one of my theories anyways on PTOs. It is very difficult for players who are on PTOs to actually make it onto the roster, so we'll see if Schuster finds another home before the season is done. Back to waiver wire news, the Philadelphia Flyers have waived Helge Grans, one of my favorite names from that draft class, and I don't think he's played a game in the National Hockey League yet, so what's up with that? The Vancouver Canucks waived Labate and McEachern, as well as Patera and Schultz. Interesting is that Labate and McEachern, I was impressed by both of them in that game against Calgary that was here in Abbey. And I did make sure to point out to my wife that these were players she was going to see a lot of in Abbotsford this year. LeBate and McEachern both have a little bit of an edge to their game. So while Canuck fans may hope that DiGiuseppe comes back, I think there's still some guys in the AHL who are going to be just fine, and I am interested to see how things go with the Abbotsford Canucks this season. I wanted to talk about this today as well. The San Jose Sharks are wearing their heritage jerseys 4 times this season, which is the same number of times that the Minnesota Wild are wearing their heritage jersey this season. What we're starting to see is a lot of jerseys. And so you have your home and away. You have technically your third jersey, although more and more we're hearing alternate as the terminology everybody uses, because now we're getting that fourth jersey. So you've got your home and away, you've got your third jersey, and then you got your heritage, which is your fourth jersey. And it does feel like the NHL and likely Fanatics as well, kind of testing the waters on just how much, I don't want to say how much they can get away with, but just how many times you can charge people for a jersey for NHL gear before they say, I need to pay my bills, I need to pay my rent. So, or mortgage, I guess, as well. But yeah, it is interesting to me to see these heritage jerseys, and not just because they make me feel really old. But hey, let me know your thoughts on the fact that, yeah, clearly NHL teams now we're going to see fourth jerseys, these heritage throwbacks. I'm fine with it as long as the third jerseys are, new, different, a little bit experimental, something fun and definitely not something we've seen from them before. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all the heritage stuff and all that. When I initially saw the list of New Jerseys coming out this year, I thought the list had to be wrong. I was like, that's way too many New Jerseys this year. And yet, all of these announcements we've seen, yeah, it's all adding up. So, there are a lot of New Jerseys this year. It will be interesting to see which ones sell and which ones don't. As we saw during reverse retro times, some of them just didn't sell. Both in the first round of reverse retros and the second round of reverse retros. All right, the reason why I'm wearing Blues gear, we'll talk about the Blues and a couple of prospects that it did not work out with yet. Both Carbonneau and Jiricek sent down. Coach Montgomery explaining why. And I appreciate this, and hopefully the players take this advice to heart. So in the case of Jiricek, he says he needs to stop taking so many hits, in that he believes he needs to take a hit to make a play, which is fine. It's fine at times to take a hit to make a play, but if you're going to take a lot of hits at the NHL level, your career might be a little bit shorter. You might be dealing with concussions, all of that fun stuff. So basically saying he needs to, move the puck before that hit and start avoiding taking as many hits as he does. In the case of Carbonneau, he's saying he needs to work on his speed going from offense to defense in transition. Basically sounding like he's often the last player back. And while we talk a lot about how some players are one-way more than two-way, we're in a league now where a lot of coaches that's not acceptable. If you do not come back and play on the defensive side, you're probably going to find yourself in this kind of position. Both players are very young. Both players considered top-notch prospects. I would imagine both of them will do well. The advice given to Carbonneau as well to watch elite players in the NHL and how they come back and play. Because while there's a lot of people who will say that certain offensively minded offensively minded forwards don't come back and play on the defensive side, most of them do. It's very rare that I see an offense, like a forward, and I'm like, is he coming back? Why is he at center ice? What's he doing? It's not that often that I see that, comparatively speaking, with what we saw in previous generations. It does feel like the National Hockey League now has far better two-way forwards than I think it's ever had, and a lot more of them as well. So Oiler news as well on the board. Jake Wallman, it looks like, may return for the Oilers on Friday against the Vancouver Canucks as that rivalry gets renewed. The next matchup between Edmonton and Vancouver should feature both of them pretty close to their opening night lineup, so that should be fun as well. Also, Oiler news, Vasily Podkolzin, who of course had his father pass away and had to take leave from the team, he is expected to be back with the team tomorrow. It has been amazing seeing the outpouring of support that he has had. Podkolzin's a player that I watched him mature in the Vancouver organization and change his game a little bit so that he could be useful in a bottom six role. And then, of course, he ended up going to Edmonton because he was no longer waivers exempt and Vancouver didn't have a spot for him on the roster. So with Podkolzin coming back tomorrow, that should allow him to get into at least a couple of games for the Oilers before the season gets started, and they should have some idea for what their lines are going to look like. I think Podkolzin's going to get every opportunity to play a top six role, at least to start the season. And if his offense ever ends up translating at the NHL level, as was expected when he was drafted 10th overall by the Canucks years back, he should score more. I would go as far as to say if Podkolzin was to play on a line with McDavid, and if he gets that nose for the net that some forwards will get, he should at least score 20. I would say easily 20. So, and I only say that because McDavid's one of the best passers in the game, and you kind of just have to be at the net, have your stick in the exact right spot. He'll just smack it off your stick into the net. So all you have to do is just kind of wait for it. But yeah, so all the best to him. And like I said, it's been nice to see the outpouring of support that he's had throughout. And it'll be nice to see him back on National Hockey League ice. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.